Good morning. Indeed, when I got the award, my kids immediately texted me by saying, "Dad, is that early retirement or are you going to start to slow down?" I say, forget all of that. I'm only getting going indeed. I'm actually very pleased to be here in this wonderful facility at the 10th anniversary. I think I attended 9 of them. I started in 2004. I missed the inauguration session. And I must say I'm extremely grateful to Jeremy and also to Philip, because in the early years and even now, I learned so much that I could take into practice into my own company that I'm very happy to give something back in return. The fun about Philip organizing the events is that he always gives me an assignment to talk about a topic which is not exactly in my comfort zone. So he asked me to talk about the trouble with technology today. So I'm actually the party pooper for all these guys which are in technology. I'm going to have to let you down. My enthusiasm for gadgets is going to be invisible today. It was interesting asking and seeing what the audience was that HR is missing. We have experienced in our organization that the one function in an organization that needs to lead it is HR. So next time around, or maybe at a second take, invite these people to come along. I have just, after 15 years, left the United Kingdom. I was living for the last 8 years here in London, and I've moved to the promised land, the Netherlands, where smarter working actually was born 25 years ago, if you listen to Vanhoutte. And it's a bit like a supermarket. By the way, we've just done our own studies, and it's very much proven that Scandinavia and the Nordics is where the highest adoption of smarter working is, but they don't talk about it. Yeah? No pun intended. My wife was looking forward to go to the Netherlands because she was anticipating that this new balance about picking up the kids, I don't have any grandchildren yet, making sure that I would be at home at times and then on the road, that I would enjoy this new balance. My wife has just told me after 2 months that there's a new form of workaholism that she feels is not going to be progress for us. But these are the kind of cartoons that you see in the Netherlands. A lot of people are sort of questioning whether this is the new elixir of work that we should have. And a lot of jokes hanging around. Like I was visiting Rabobank, of all places, on a Friday, that was in the beginning of the year, and there was just nobody to be seen there. And it's now known in the Netherlands that on Monday and Friday, sort of conveniently, people stay back at home. And on Wednesdays, because of arbeidsduurverkorting, which is a law that was voted back 10 years ago, people conveniently stay at home because the kids are back from school. It's a bit strange that activity-based working systematically makes it like people are only going to be in the office on Tuesday and Thursday. So as managers, there's a need for us to go and help with that kind of behavior. Back 4 weeks ago, I had the pleasure of featuring in Worktech Amsterdam. And I was there actually 5 years ago. And I looked at my own slides, and I was very junior at that time, and I was asked to have a sobering view about what smarter working is about. This book that was published over there in the Netherlands talks about unraveling the bricks, bytes, and behaviors, which are the 4 disciplines that need to be combined for a productive smarter working implementation. I've been asked to focus on the technology of the bytes part, but I would like to give you a quick snapshot on what are the major challenges in the bricks and behavior aspects too. Let's start with what's the trouble with bricks. And we had in our own company already found these issues, but when I had the pleasure of reading 3 to 4 years ago Jeremy's book, which I absolutely recommend. Is it available here?
It is.
It is, yeah. Because this, for me, is a piece of very highly actionable research, which is grounded across multiple continents, and it states quite clearly that noise is the #1 bugbear in our offices, particularly in these landscape offices that we've now enjoyed, quote unquote, for many times. What the book says, I'll just fast forward to the recommendation. I'm a former Accenture consultant, so I'm interested in actionable recommendations, is what you have to do is to apply the basics of acoustics, and the high priests of acoustics will not tell you on the first day of their consultancy, but if you threaten them, they will say it's all about ABC. It's about absorption, blocking, and cover, which is these fancy systems in the ceilings. We did that and applied this with the 4 acoustic zones that Jeremy is recommending in the book, and it's made a whole lot of difference. Please do it before you start your building, not afterwards. 80% of the acoustic efforts are typically done after the fact, because we design buildings for our eyes, but not for our ears. Next time around, you ask an architect to present you a new office, ask him to play the sound of the various acoustic zones. They will think you're off a different planet. That will change over time. The second thing that I missed and struggled with in the first years of Worktech is I got drunken with all of the presentations and so forth, but I missed a kind of rigorous, systematic approach. I heard about work topology, activity-based working, and I just missed a scientific way of going about this. Until 3.5 years ago, I met Tim Oldman. Some of you may know him. He was at that time with Vitra, where he was VP of Strategy and Marketing. He said, "Hey, Philip, we met each other last year and you were searching for some help. I'm going to actually work on an independent workplace satisfaction audit and survey and indexing and benchmarking tool. Are you interested in that?" I said, "Perfect timing. I have to consolidate 3 buildings in Royal Wood and Bassett near Swindon, and I just don't know how to go about it. That would be a good thing." We actually used this as an X-ray, and the X-ray was actually done with the help of 83% of the employees that actually spent more than, it's almost like half an hour, filling in a questionnaire to declare what is the weighted set of activities that they do and the levels of satisfaction with anything from the technology over to air quality, the typical aspects of acoustics, furniture, and so forth. And it was fantastic. Our management team, in the period of just a couple of work days, was able to produce a briefing document for HR, space, and technology at the same time. We had a very poor score of 65 on a scale of 100 when we did the first survey. We call that a pre-occupation survey. By the time we did the post-occupation survey about a year later, after people had enjoyed it for 4 months, we shot up to 84, and by Leesman standards, there is only one company that has beaten us by that time. Surprise, surprise, last year in November, we won the British Institute of Facilities Management Award for Innovation in the Workplace, and we have every day many people from Russia all the way down to north and south to come and visit us just to see not thought leadership, but practice leadership in action. But that's not what I'm going to talk about. I'll just leave you with those 2 things. You've got to focus on acoustics. You've got to have a scientific tool to understand which activities you do, and then to produce a briefing document. But I need to talk about the trouble with technology. Recognize some of these things? So here's what I did. I need to have some inspiration for this presentation. So what I did on Thursday, big mistake, I sent out to all of the employees which I manage, it's 300 plus in Europe and Africa, a question: can you let me know what your biggest letdowns are, not just yours, but also the ones that you hear from your customers, and play it back. How much time do you have? Okay. So I've asked them also to talk about these things that touch him emotionally. In America, where my son lives, he talks about being riled up. Yeah, I think you know what that means. So I asked him, as when I was working with Michael Dell, he always told me your management mantra needs to be "don't perfume the pig." So here we are. We're going to have the awards for the biggest pigs in the technology. Are you surprised? Networks. Unbelievable. It's like the amount of frustration that I was poured on me about people not being happy with networks is just absolutely unbelievable. Let's just do a quick check if you agree with me. So that wins the prize. Number 1, people are saying, don't come and market to us 4G, because that's the technology. Make a commitment to service. Actually, I'm working in the industry for a while. I worked for a carrier before. In the US, they call them carriers. Here in Europe, they call them service providers. Yeah? I got plenty of reports from the UK especially that situation is getting worse. And I've experienced this myself. Try to get a continuous call, even in a chauffeur-driven car, for a conference call anywhere from the west to London or coming in from Folkestone into London. Impossibile. Yeah? Try to have a continuous call where I lived before, next to MI6, for a virtual collaboration. Impossible. That's one of the reasons why I've left the United Kingdom, because I cannot do my job here anymore. It's that serious. We'll come back to what we're going to do about it. Number 2, broadband. It's all about fat pipes, broad, but if you want to enjoy a shower, there needs to be some pressure on it, right? Well, that pressure seems to be missing. In that same place where I used to live for 8 years, we were about 100 plus dwellings, all sitting off an old broadband copper line, all trying to surf on 2.5 gigahertz with Wi-Fi, and there wasn't a whole lot coming through. God knows what the kids were doing whilst we were trying to do our work. Yeah? Let's keep on. Wi-Fi. It's now been seen as a fundamental right. Major distinction of philosophy in between the United States and the UK. But you've all had it. You're in Barajas Airport. Let's just talk about Spain, yeah? Where I was a couple of weeks ago in Barcelona. And you have plenty of these Wi-Fi antennas coming up, and you're trying them, hoping that the free Wi-Fi from the airport is going to do anything, is doing nothing. Hop over to your Boingo account or to Skype Wi-Fi, and it's all not really coming true. How much time are we spending every day trying to hop and search for some things, whether we paid for it or not, right? And then maybe it might be just my business, but a lot of my guys said, I mean, VPN is not consistently a blessing. As you know, VPN is needed for some more antiquated applications, typically transaction applications, SAP and Oracle stuff. And if you're in a virtual interaction with people, then you'll have to sometimes search for some documents in a demilitarized zone, yeah, protected by Wi-Fi. And if you do that, you lose your Wi-Fi connection. Not your Wi-Fi connection, actually you might lose your Wi-Fi connection, but you lose your virtual collaboration connection. So what we're saying is, networking is the big topic. Now, for those of you who are in the business of IT and networking and maybe service providers, this is nothing new. This is all about making sure that you don't just talk about bandwidth up and down, but that you talk about jitter and latency. So it's perfectly possible to have quality of service parameters, and that's the kind of new language that we're going to be talking with the service providers. Second topic I want to talk about is the collaborative technology. In the enterprise world, that's called unified communication and collaboration. For those of you who don't have it, you might be tempted to use social networking as an alternative. Be very careful what's going to happen. The reason why it's slow is quite simple. There is a lot of fights going on in between the various vendors, which understand that this is the next gen of technology. A lot of people don't want to let go of what they had before. Same thing goes with telecommunication guys. There are still camps in many companies in between datacoms and the telecom guys, and they don't really want to talk together. The technology has been around for a long time. I remember having my first meeting with Nicholas Zenström from Skype, which actually also was with me on stage 8 years ago here, and with Skype, which is the Esperanto of unified communications. We worked with that already 10 years ago. Microsoft launched their OCS, the earlier version of Link, on October 17, 2007. That's 6 years ago. The new edition, Link, came out 3 years ago. It's now been put together in the Skype division. Yeah? And with Cisco, just to name a competitor, the Jabber solution is maturing well. From what we've seen in research in the top 500 companies in the UK, there's only 1 out of 3 who's at it in terms of using it or about to implement it. Yeah? Now, most of you will have been using instant messaging for about a decade in your private lives. This is very dangerous for IT managers, because guess what? After buy your own or bring your own device and bring your own application, your employees might decide to cobble together 6 applications to do their own communications. Now, if I decide to speak Esperanto and you speak Chinese, there's going to be incommunicados. So what we're going to have to do is to decide on one communication solution that at least works in your own organization, and then the question is, are you going to be able to federate or unify that with others externally? Talking about various solutions, a lot of my people said it's amazing how many Chinese walls there are. China is growing in power, and a number of Chinese walls that are being built in the technology world are amazing. Ever tried to have a video communication in between the new FaceTime and Skype? Ever tried to print something from your smartphone? If you've ever done it? Yeah? All these worlds are just worlds which are in isolation that actually should be coming together. Yeah? And it's getting worse rather than good. I'm not here to frighten you. I may have solutions to some things. And then we have people saying, my PC is just slowing down as soon as it's 9 months old. It's like a cholesterol buildup. And I've complained about that with my IT guys for a long while, and they found a solution called Eternity, which is a preventative remote diagnostic software, which is actually seeing what the heck is going on, and which can tell your IT department that it took 4 minutes to boot your PC before you start to vent to them. That does it, but I'm still shocked to hear that in many companies are using PCs which are 7 and 10 years old. I mean, in many companies at this very moment, the norm is to replace a PC, if that is still what you want to have, every 2 years. Yeah? Anything that's older than that, you're asking for trouble, and the productivity hit is massive. Yeah? Imagine that you're going to do a report for a customer visit in the evening, and it takes a while for your PC to boot. You're going to say, stuff that, I'm not going to do that, right? I need to have the gear to do it. Why are people taking onto tablets? Because they fire up so fast. Actually, it's better with Windows 8, you all know that. Good. Still too many crashes. Yeah? Some PCs, some brands are better than others. You knew that. And then we were all looking for that one device. You remember? We're looking for one device to do it all. It was a notebook first, then it was going to be a smartphone, now it's a tablet. I think we just have more every day. Keep in mind there's still a bunch of people using sat-navs too. Yeah? So I don't know what's in your rucksack. I can tell you what's in my rucksack, but it doesn't feel like it's converging at this very moment. Yeah? And what about chargers? Yeah? What about cables? Yeah? It was all going to be disappearing, right? And by the time you plug it together with Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, or something else, does it really work? I found this early this morning. I didn't realize there's a movie about plug and play. I'm going to download that and read it at my leisure. Clearly, there were some aging effects for the guy that underwent it. And then passwords. I'm not going to do a quiz, but let's just say that we all have at least a couple of dozen, right? I've started using my new iPhone 5S with the fingerprinting. Hallelujah, that's progress. Yeah? Particularly if with your eyesight at the age of 50 plus you cannot even see what to, so these things that are going to help. Yeah? Now, well, the reason why I'm building up to this, and by the way, I've only talked about half of the problems that people see with different weighting factors. The problem is that if you're in the technology field like I am in, there's not a lot of people that are going to spend time to start to try something new. So a large amount of skepticism. So you can sit here complaining about lack of adoption is because it's self-inflicted. Somebody came up with something without bothering to explain what the benefit is, or at least do some proper segmentation to sell it. And then we're sitting there crying that people don't adopt the technology. So let me tell you the two biggest claimed trends at this very moment. Yeah? Number one is cloud. Yeah? Last week, my team, Paul Clark in the room here, was at the Gartner event, which is the yearly Mecca track for CIOs. Yeah? And CEOs, the guys in charge that pay the bills for the CIOs, are absolutely not interested in cloud computing. They are sick and tired of moving software from this kind of machine to that kind of machine. They feel it's all there to just benefit the new software architecture or a hardware placement, or maybe it's a scam for the network guys to make us truly dependent on the networks, right? What the CEOs are saying, would you mind concentrating on building that new business application, a piece of workflow that is fine, and by the time you make a piece of software, make it so that I can use it. Make sure that it's not done with the software engineering and efficiency in mind, but what you need to do with it. Recognize this? Yeah? And then there's information overload. We already talked about it. Yeah? It's tough. Information in so many repositories. Information in so many communication environments. What are we doing about it? I think that what we've lost is the art and science of what librarians used to do, which is they analyze what information objects are about, they do synthesize at times, and they curate. That art has been lost. And if you think that by using a search engine you get all that, it might not be. You might get more targeted advertising than actually finding what you want. Yeah? So like with every disease, there is a diet. I've put myself on a diet for 15 years, whereby I'm not watching television, unless when it's a good movie, and I read one newspaper. I'm going to tell you which one it is. It's the Wall Street Journal Europe. Of course, I come to events like this to learn from other things, but you've got to put yourself on a diet. There's so much out there, yeah? And even if you try to just drink from the fire hose of social networks, I wish you good luck. It's nigh on impossible. Good. And then the second big topic is big data. I'm sure that you've heard about it. You might have read a book or gone to a conference or heard a software supplier to come to you. Beware. I'm going to show you once to actually, this gentleman here wrote a fantastic article in the Wall Street Journal on October 20. And forgive me for one slide with a lot of words, that's against the principles. Just have a look at this. What this professor is saying is that this will come with a piece of software that is not simple to comprehend. By the time you have all of these data, you need to understand an industry sector, you need to understand the competition, you need to understand your people, and also be able to appreciate the kind of garbage that you've been given to process on, right? So for all of you who think that big data is the first priority on your list, you might be thinking twice. Read the article, it's fantastic. Good, so have I overlooked one big trouble? Is there any that you have that I didn't mention, at least, that would need to be in the priority list? Your agreement? So what is the one big thing? What is the one big thing that we want to fix? Networks. Exactly. Networks is what we want to fix. Our company is based in Santa Cruz, California. By the way, our company is for 52 years in the wearables business, not just headsets. And we're putting a lot of intelligence in these headsets to make sure that they observe what you're doing and make sure that the other computers around you are served with some elements to make sure that we open the computer, serve the information that you need, and so forth and so forth. So in California, there's a saying, if you're a surfer, you need to have a good wave, and that wave is the network. Yeah? So needless to say that if there's problems, people are coming up with some suggestions for solutions. Some people are saying to me, why can we not have first class, second class, or business class, and then economy class, if you're on a network? Some people say, I'll gladly pay for that, but I want to make sure that the service comes to me. Other people are saying, I'd like to have like a magic box, which is having a couple of antennas up to see if there is free Wi-Fi around, and if there is pressure on the shower head, yeah? And make sure that I have a proper trade-off, and I'm willing to pay in between quality of service and the bandwidth and all the parameters of the networking. So the beauty of all these issues is that for those of you which are in the technology field, there is a bright, bright future for you. Every itch needs scratching, and there is like a lot of itches here, as you can see. So the good news is, and together with you, Paul, I was in a brand new forum that was founded by Sir Winfried Bischoff, the chairman of Lloyd's, which is called the Agile Forum for the UK. The realization has sunk in with UK PLC that we got a little problem. And it's rallying leaders in the United Kingdom to make sure that they go from a underdeveloped digital country into one that's going to be the leading agile countries in the world. That's not going to happen overnight, I can tell you. Yeah? The Economist next year will be publishing the agility index for countries in the world to indicate if they are ready for the next generation of world. So it's flagged, it's being worked on. I'm here to provide indications of hope as much as problems. Yeah? But let me finish off on the problem with people. A lot of technology people will be saying, you know, technology is not that bad if people only understand and get trained about it. So what's the problem with people? Behavior. So is it always the problem with the conference call? You know how it goes, right? You ask a question in a conference call and that other person says, sorry, can you repeat the question? I didn't fully understand. There was a little problem with the network. No. The problem is you got too many damn of these machines open and you're doing whatever you don't want to reveal to me, but the last thing you're doing is to pay attention. In virtual meetings, there's only 1 out of 4 people which are paying attention. If you would be running a BMW manufacturing plant and you got 3 out of your 4 robots doing something that's not applicable to the car. It might have several colors. It might be a zebra by the time it's coming out. It might miss a wheel, yeah? So that's really what we're talking about. We need to have a minimum of discipline here. So the biggest element that we're lacking is vitality and engagement in these virtual meetings. What we have found in our company is that the use of voice, it was fascinating to hear the professor talk about the analytics that have been done on how we communicate. Surprise, surprise, the way we talk, by voice or by email, is very important. So therefore, the impact of your communication is important. It can be trained. We have a speech impact course which teaches people to speak loud enough, not monotone, but a certain pace, productive or not, and to be able to listen. Yeah? We focus on voice intelligibility, wideband voice in networks. Very soon in Italy, of all places, we're going to be launching the first high-definition wideband audio network for mobile, courtesy Telecom Italia Mobile. That's going to be having handsets, networks, and headsets of high definition. Last but not least, you need an instrument to do these things. That's the business I'm in. That's a headset, but I promise not to make any advertorials. Good. The thing I would like to say to you is that it's with great pleasure that we've seen that British Telecom has just launched BT Meet Me. And they have collaborated with Dolby, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Dolby is across the road from us in Royal Wootton Bassett, very conveniently. And have a look at their new service. It's providing spatialization for audio communications. I'd like to finish off on the final big problem, which is with smarter working overall. And you know this already. It's about letting go in smarter working. Letting people, grown-ups, decide what is the place that they feel they can work best as long as they're productive and saving a bit of money. That is a job that needs to be done by HR. In our company, we have a new label for HR. It's no longer human resources, which is input. We call it human realization. So we have big programs with our HR team to make sure that they are the masters of ceremony for smarter working. So in summary, if we ask about what is the trouble with smarter working, there's troubles in many areas, but there's solutions. On the brick side in space, pay attention to acoustics. Start with understanding what your people need. Do a lease-man survey. On the byte side, make sure that your IT department talks a language of quality of service for their own management of resources and with the service providers. When you get down to people, ask them to pay attention. Equip them with the right technology so that they can be heard and that they are impactful. And get your HR people to coach that. Thank you very much for your time and good luck with your projects.
Thank you, Philip. A very timely reminder of how we all get our wires crossed. Time for a couple of quick questions for Philip. Has he missed out any of the ills of technology, or has he overplayed it? Yeah? Gentleman here.
Hi, Nick Smith from Johnson Controls. I remember when the M25 was built with 3 lanes, it got full. We've now got 6 lanes and I still queue up to work every morning. If we get faster networks, isn't there just a risk that people will use them more and we still end up with exactly the same problems?
Yes, I think I've come to a situation in my company where I've asked people to stop working from home because I heard them 4 or 5 times not having the right connection at home, and I say to them, stop wasting your time and our time, get back to the office.
Okay. The highways are filling up. Any other questions for Philip?
No?
No? Okay. Philip, thank you very much indeed. And congratulations again.